Golden Boy, man, how you feeling?
What's up with you, my boy?
It's good to see you, Doc.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Cool. Thank you for letting me slide through here, man. I really appreciate this.
Always. You feel me?
It's crazy. I had no idea. Get closer to the mic. I had no idea the. No, I was talking about me.
Oh, okay. My fault again.
Yeah, it's your fault either way. No, but I'm saying I had no idea the studio was right here. It's pretty crazy.
Bro. Yeah, you feel me? It'd be close by. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be able to do it if I was going all the way 30, 40 minutes away all the time.
How long's your drive to here?
Like 15.
That's nothing. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's like 15.
I had no. That's so funny. Like when you send me the address and everything, I work like right next to here. Like 5-minute walk, less than that.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy to me.
It's like secret as tuck.
Exactly. How long you been recording here?
What, like almost 2 years?
How did it start?
Actually, you feel me? My cousin was in here, King Young. We was looking for a studio. I seen he posted he was here. I'm like, all right. So you feel me? Just on the story, I didn't even know he came here. I thought he was going somewhere in Oakland. I was like, oh, where is this at? Expecting it to be Oakland. He was like, yeah, it's close by. Whoop-de-whoop. Slid through. And I was like, yeah, this is nice. You feel me? I booked a session. Came in here and I was like, oh, this is nice. Came a couple times. I was like, yeah, this is definitely a home base for my music. For sure.
Yeah, I remember this now. We covered this last interview. That's what, bro. That's another thing too. You're the only person only person yet that I've interviewed twice. So it's like I'm trying to remember. Yeah. What did we cover last time? What didn't we?
Yeah, a little update interview 2 times.
But I mean, lots has changed. You got your new EP out and everything. How was the reception for that so far?
So far it's doing good. I'm not gonna lie. I got better feedback than I was expecting. Like a lot of people was fucking with it. I'm excited. I'm glad a lot of people excited for it. I felt like for a second, I think it was just because, you feel me, the stress of putting something out, I was just worried. I was like, man, it has to be perfect. Everything got to get done perfectly. And then, you feel me, I did all the stuff I had to, got the art ready, the visuals, all that, released it, and I was like, wow, I think that was the most prepared I've been for a drop. So I was really excited for it. And then the fact that it was so different, I think I was just nervous that people weren't going to, because it was different from my shit before. So I think I was just nervous that people weren't going to like it. But the feedback I got from it was so good. And I was like, you feel me? You know, when you put something out and you just be excited because you're like, man, like
100%.
It definitely got the feedback I wanted from it.
Did you feel like you put everything into it? Because I feel like personally, when I like release an interview or a new video essay or review or whatever, I feel so accomplished if I can put something out and say, you know, I know for a fact I put everything that I had into this.
Yeah, absolutely. I put so many hours into it, like especially leading up to drop time. I put so many hours into that EP, and I think that's why I felt so good about it, because I was like, man, like, people are really like noticing, like, man, you really put a lot of time into this shit. Like, the response, people were hitting me and they were like, bro, you put so much work into this. This went crazy. So yeah, that shit went crazy. I'm glad that like my work is being received well, even though it was like kind of a change from, I mean, not hell of a change, but it was kind of a change from how the rest of my stuff was sounding. So
the last project, did you feel like you put more work into it, but it wasn't as well received?
Yeah, I think I put as much work, like close to as much work. Obviously, I was a much younger artist, like a much less developed artist than I am now. But I just think it wasn't as well received, just because like it was so much different than, I think, one, what people were expecting, and two, like how other shit sounded nearby. So I was like, you know, it can only be if it's that abrupt of like a change. So I think it's gonna take. That's definitely a project that I think, like the project before this one, the Rockstar project, has to be received better. It's gonna take time to age before it's received as well as I want it to. Yeah. But this one definitely got good feedback. Like Daylight Castaway got such good feedback just that first week. Everybody's like, man, this is hard. And I'm noticing people are starting to like kind of pay attention to 808 Rockstar more now. Yeah. So I like that.
Were you pushing the marketing on this project a bit harder than the last one, do you think? Like, do you think you learned how to like push your music out better?
100%. 100%. Because like I went through different methods. You know, like I was saying, I'm a much more developed artist now. but it's deeper than just like the music. It's like it's everything, like the marketing, the everything. I wasn't doing as much of it as I am now. So now I think I did something much different. I had some, you feel me, some promotional visuals for it. I had more like ahead of time, like audio promotional like clips. I went greater lengths, and I was reaping the benefits from it because I took those extra steps.
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely visible. Like, it's very easy to see, and it's good to hear that, because I mean, a lot of like newer art. I mean, you've been at this for a while now, but I mean, a lot of newer artists in general that are so good and so talented and make such great music, but they just don't know how to market themselves, don't know how to push themselves, and it's like that's half the battle.
Yeah, it took me a minute. I was frustrated at first. Like, before this project, I was frustrated because I was like, I'm dropping music, I feel like it's so good, but it's just not being received the way I want it to. Then I really started paying attention and noticing, like, okay, it's because I'm only doing half the work. Like, I have to also be getting the, you know what I'm talking about? I have to also be doing the promotion and all, like, the foot traffic. You know, I got to get it out there. It's more than just like, okay, it's out. No, now it's gonna do its own thing. Like, I have to do it manually. So now that I really understand that, I feel like it's a whole different game now, because like I feel like I'm prepared for it now. You know what I'm talking about?
It's weird too, because I feel like to a lot of people, music will come natural, or art will come natural. People can be naturally creative, but that marketing side, it only comes, like, I feel like it only comes natural in like a very select few people.
Yeah, you have to just find your groove for
exactly.
it. Really.
And if you have that, you're usually not as good of a musician as you can be.
Yeah, it's like you gotta really find your groove, and until you find your groove, you're spending so much like time and focus into figuring it out. So I think now I'm starting to find that. So there's less time being put into it. So I'm like, okay, I know. You know what I'm talking about? If you know the recipe, it's going to take less time to prepare for it than going into a blind and just trying to figure it out. I
mean, that's why a lot of people pursue management too.
Yeah.
Because if you can get somebody on the back end to take care of all that for you,
yeah,
it's different. You know, like it's. I'm surprised that I don't see this more. I'm surprised you don't see more artists now not wanting to sign with a label but still having lots of management behind them, because you can have a manager but still own all your music, you know, whereas if you're signed to a label and you're in these lucrative deals, there isn't really a scenario where you're gonna own all your music. It's just not gonna happen.
You're always gonna come out with the short end of the stick.
Have you been cautious of that? Has anybody approached you at stuff like that yet?
I've had, I think, like maybe like one like larger label approached me, and I like had to shut it down immediately, because it was just like the way that they came to me about it. I could tell immediately. I was like, no, this isn't, like, this is just not the way to go. So I've been, since then, I mean, I was cautious before, but then when it actually happened, I was like, okay, I gotta definitely be on my toes, because before it was kind of just like, oh, I've heard, you know what I mean? Like, I've heard somebody say that like this could happen, but then when you actually experience it, then you're like, damn, this shit really can happen. So I definitely been on my toes even more now, especially because I'm starting to be out more and like reach out to more people. So I know more people are starting to like have eyes on things I'm doing, releasing, like working on, just because I'm kind of putting myself out there more. So I definitely have to keep that in mind all the time.
I feel like there's a scenario too where these labels are fully aware of the fact that they can find these younger artists that might not have the management push behind them, and they can get these people to sign these 80-20 deals or these 70-30 deals, not understanding the fact that, you know, that's not a good deal for an artist with a major trajectory.
Especially because I feel like most artists at my level, it's just like a label. Oh, I'm there. I made it. Paperwork, I'm signing it. And then later they're like, damn, I really fucked that up just doing that. So I think people just gotta keep that like in mind, especially if they're like smaller artists, because that's the artists that labels are gonna want to take advantage of.
I totally agree with you, but I also feel like there's more of a push now than ever for people to be able to go and stay independent. But I do feel like you're right. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, the second I get that label offer, the second I get an offer for a deal, I've made it. Because then it's like you can start getting paid.
Most artists don't realize that it's low key better to be just independent. Like, you have so much more control over your shit.
If somebody has, let's say somebody has 1 million fans on whatever, right? Somebody's 1 million fans and they're independent. Somebody that has 1 million fans and is signed to a major label. The person who has 1 million fans and is independent has the potential to make way more money than the person who's signed.
Because it's 1 million fans going directly to you.
Exactly.
It's not like 1 million fans going through somewhere else and then through somewhere else and then through somewhere else and like trickling down the extra to you. Like,
that's true. I know what you mean with that chain thing. It's like you can be a fan of. It's almost like you're a fan of all of these artists that a label pushes without even knowing it, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're just the people you see. You don't even realize that maybe it's Columbia or maybe it's Capitol or whoever that has put all these artists in front of you. Like it's funny. I bet you could go down like the average person's playlist and like if they probably wouldn't be aware of it, but I guarantee you half of the artists are signed to 3 labels.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you just look at drops, like, whenever, you feel me, like, big music drop days, you know what I'm talking about? Like, every, like, 2 months, it'll be, like,
Yesterday
5, 6
actually was
artists.
really big.
Yeah, like, 5, 6 artists, their drops will just happen to line up. And if you just look at them, especially because you have the resources to, like, look on your phone when it drops, and you can look at, like, okay, who are they signed to? Like, most of them be on the same, because it's just planned like that. I just think that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because then you have, like, smaller artists that aren't being pushed by the people with the resources to do it, but it be other talent. So it's just, like, it kind of falls by the wayside type.
Yeah, it totally does. How long did you work on this EP compared to the last one? Like, how long did the last one take versus this one take? Because I know in our last interview you were talking about giving yourself a deadline for the last one. Was that something you wanted to do on this one, or you worked away from it?
He didn't let me put a deadline on it because I put a deadline on the last one. Like, I kind of did, but it wasn't as aggressive. I think on 808 Rockstar, it was like mid working on it. I was like, okay, I'm dropping it in 2 weeks. And then it was like, okay, get it finished in 2 weeks. Whereas Daylight Castaway was like way ahead of time. I was like, okay, this is the date that my goal is to drop. And it was like, this is my main date, this is the follow-up date, and this is my final date. So it was like I was aiming for the main date, my original date, which was actually, because I dropped Daylight Castaway in July, my main date was months ago. That was my main goal date. It was months ago in May. And like on my birthday. And I was like, I'm not going to be done with it. I'm not going to be done with it by the time my birthday comes up. So I was like, okay, I'll go with the backup one. And then I started approaching that one, and I was like, it's not quite done yet. I got to push it back again. And then once I started approaching my final date, which was the date I dropped on, I was like, yeah, this is going to be done by the time that date comes around. And then I uploaded it with enough time, got all the extra stuff done. You know what I'm talking about? Like, had it sent in to the, like, uploaded for release. I had it on the playlist. I had it everywhere it needed to be. And I was like, yes. And I think it's a more, like, it's a better feeling when you're not doing everything rushed and last minute.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much better of a feeling it is until I actually did it, because I rushed myself so much with the last EP that I didn't realize that it could be so relaxed. Like, the last one was like everything uploaded and everything within days of like a date, and this one was like I gave myself enough time where I could do all the extracurriculars for it and the promoting and everything for it, and not have any more of the music stuff to be worried about because I was finished with it already.
Yeah.
So it was more time of work, but it was more organized. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't like I wasn't pressed for time with it. It was just working at a good steady pace, like getting it done the way it should have been. Was the project like where the project was at when you were at that first potential release date versus where it was when you finished it? How different are those two projects? That original date it was only 2 songs.
Oh.
So
yeah.
like that original date, it was gonna be dropped as 2 songs, and one of them wasn't even finished. And then I was like, I don't know, this song's not finished all the way. I'm gonna push it back because I was thinking, I was like, I could rush and finish this last song, but you know what I mean? Like I could rush and finish this last song, but where am I gonna get with that? And then the second date was approaching, and it was 3 songs, but I still had a bunch of like mixing and the behind the board stuff to do. And I was like, I don't really know. And then I ended up recording a song kind of last minute, and I was like, man, this definitely is gonna go on the EP because I feel like it just fits. And did that one, and I ended up finishing that one quickly, and finished all the rest of the stuff, all the extracurriculars behind the board, all the mixing, mastering, and I was like, yeah, now I'm ready to release it by this last date. I ended up finishing it like perfectly in time, uploading it, everything was good.
Front to back, like it seems like there's a lot of artists that can go in the studio and be there for 3 hours and make a song. Like you seem like you're much more of a perfectionist, huh? Do you have trouble like saying something's done?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I do. I'm not even going to sit here and lie to you. I absolutely do. One of those songs I re-recorded, I think I fully re-recorded Distance, 2-3 times.
Yeah.
So.
What about didn't you like? Did you just want to kind of rework it and find a different framework, or?
No, it wasn't even rearranging it. It was just like, I'd listen to it and be like, I can perfect this. I can get this better.
Yeah.
I can get this better. I can get this better. And then after a while, I was like, I feel like I'm just doing too much. Like, I'm going to overly try to perfect it, and it's just not going to come out good. So I do kind of just have to shut myself down and be like, let me not do the most, because it's just not going to get me anywhere.
And if you're like that on a song basis, I feel like it only makes sense that the project would, it'd be hard to say like the project's done. Like it makes sense that you throw another song in there.
It was definitely, I had to really sit down and just listen to it, like take a break from it, not listen to anything, and then come back to it. And I was like, man, why am I still doing all this extra work? You know what I mean? Like I took a break from it, came back, started listening to it again, and I was like, I really don't have all the stuff to do on it that I thought. It was just because once I get into that work mode, I be trying to perfect it so much. Like I be putting so much work into getting it absolutely perfect, and so much thought into getting it absolutely perfect, that I don't consider the fact that like I've already done it.
It's done. Yeah.
So I think that working on it that much and then taking like a pause and then coming back to it is good, because I think that'll make it come out the best. If I just put my nose to it nonstop, I'm just gonna do too much. So it was. I think I stepped away from it at the right time to come back and just kind of finish it, finalize it, done.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I had an interview with my guy Ethan Newsense a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about a pretty similar thing, and something like he kind of put it in perspective for me. He was saying that like if you play something long enough and you play something too many times, you'll just start to hate it. No matter how good it is,
exactly.
You start to psych yourself out.
Exactly. With so many things. That's why I have to take breaks. Like I'll listen to it consistently, especially because if you're working on something and you're like long-term working on something, every time that you're listening, you're going to be, you know what I mean? Every time you put headphones on, you're listening to whatever you're working on. Every time you get in the car, you're listening to whatever you're working on. If you're not doing something, you're listening to, you know what I mean? So it's like after a while, you're noticing every little thing, especially if you're working on it. You're specifically listening to every sound that's in it, every breath, you know what I mean? Every word, every note. So it's just, you got to take a second sometimes and be like, let me just not. It's because there are times that I will prepare to drop a song and I'll just listen to it so much that I hate it, and I'll be like, I'm not dropping it.
Psych yourself out.
I'll be like, it's not coming out because it's bad. So, and it won't even be bad. It'll be a good song, but I just listen to it so much. So it definitely, I am a perfectionist, so I've had to take time to kind of keep that in mind and not over listen to or like do shit too much to the point where I hate it. because then if that's the case, nothing would ever come out ever.
Were there certain things on your last project that you like consciously didn't like that you wanted to improve on with this EP?
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. I feel like, but it wasn't even like it was, I consciously didn't like it, but I had improved naturally. So I didn't need to go out of my way to, like, I didn't need to go out of my way to fix it. You know what I mean? It was just me working as an artist consistently. You know what I mean? Like, practice makes perfect. You know what I mean? So me just improving naturally and making bigger steps and changes as an artist between then and now, I fixed the things that I didn't like between that project and this one.
Does that improvement come from just being in the studio every day?
Honestly, yeah, it definitely does. And like me taking more time, because before I was definitely impatient. I didn't want to take any time. I was just like, finish it, cool, done, put it out. But working on stuff more, then I was like, wait, I can't just record and release. Like, I gotta put more time into it. And then there was more of like, okay, I can do this as opposed to, you know what I mean? I can prepare myself for recording something, or I can prepare myself for mixing something, or set time aside to do specific parts of the process, as opposed to just showing up and being like, okay, we got to get it done.
Yeah.
Like, you got to go into it prepared still. Like, you can't just do shit to do shit. You know what I mean?
So after you finished the last project, did you like immediately start writing Daylight Castaway, or were you just kind of throwing ideas around in between, or what was that in between process like?
So in between, you keep asking questions that he knew you were gonna ask. Like, he's looking like that. In between was like, Daylight Castaway was like a recent process, like a recent project almost. Like, there was time of me not working on Daylight Castaway, especially because I'm like actively working on a larger project. That Daylight Castaway was like, okay, I'm in a mode. I have things that kind of go together, but not like they fit together, but don't fit with the larger project. So they should come out together, but you know what I mean? Like it's like a, I don't even want to say like a commercial break, but like that's the easy. That's
like
the first
something
thing
to
that
hold you over to the bigger picture.
Yeah, because it's like, I know that's gonna take more time, but I also know that these all fit together and they were high quality and they were good enough where I can put them out and they're gonna be received well, but they wouldn't fit in with the other ones from the bigger project. So I was like, okay, I can put these together as one. And then once, they were kind of like slowly coming together already, then I was like, oh, I can put these together as like one idea and arrange them as such. So then they ended up being that. But these songs were definitely, because 808 Rockstar came out last year in 2020. They came out in like May 2020. Daylight Castaway songs are all songs ranging from like February of 2021 to June of 2021. So it's kind of like they're more recent. It's not like immediately after 808 Rockstar. It's more space. I needed to get more time to kind of build before I dropped this one.
Were there lots of stuff, like lots of tracks you made that didn't fit that category, the bigger album? Like, is there a lot of leftover, do you think? Are you trying to get like more of a cohesive sounding project for the other one?
I'm trying to get, for the album, I'm trying to get more of like a cohesive sounding project, but there are so many that do not fit that. Like, there's so many that have been made that are just not within that, you know what I mean, not within that line. I want it to be not necessarily linear, but you know what I mean, like a path. Like, I want listening to the actual album to be like a path. I want listening to my projects to be like a path. And I didn't plan that out with 808 Rockstar, which is another thing that I wanted to keep in mind. But like, that's another thing I wanted to keep in mind from between 808 Rockstar and Daylight Castaway. But just as I grew as an artist, that was more something I wanted to do anyway. It's just make things more linear, make it happen more. So I think that's like, even that question you asked earlier is anything I consciously had in mind. I think that was the only thing I like consciously had in mind, was that I want my projects to be like a one complete idea, not just sonically, but like one complete idea altogether. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do. I definitely know what you mean. I remember you in our last interview. You mentioned that a lot of the tracks like you made earlier in your musical career were freestyled opposed to written. Were most of these tracks on the new project, were most of those freestyled or most of them written?
Most of them were like, I was like a mixture of like freestyling and like writing.
Mm-hmm.
The intro to Daylight Castaway I recorded on Instagram Live.
Yes.
So that one was just like freestyled, but like in a freestyled writing type of way. But that's usually how I record recently, just because he pushed me to do it. So now it's more of a habit. But a lot of my songs are recorded like that now. I'll kind of just catch how I'm feeling at the time, and I'll just grind out getting it done. Cream of the Crop happened so quickly. I just heard it and I was like, yeah, this gas, I gotta do it. And it happened so quickly. The recording happened so quick, and I was on Instagram Live. I just knocked it out, and then it got to a point that I was like, yeah, I gotta get off live because I'm about to do just a bunch of extra. So, but a lot of these projects were in that like freestyle type of way, but I've definitely gotten better. So now it's getting to a point you can't even listen to it and be like, yeah, he freestyled this whole song.
Yeah.
Like it's quality now.
That's a really interesting way of going about writing. Like, just because I went back and I watched that live. It's part of the reason I asked that question, and it's just a not weird, but just a cool way of like sitting down and writing a project to me, or just a song rather, I guess, because it seemed like you're almost like chunking it, right? So it's like you go like you go like bar for bar, and you kind of like get one bar, just decide if you like it or not, and then move on to the next one, right? It's very linear like that.
It's usually not always. It usually seems kind of linear like that. There are a lot of times that I'll go into a song or a verse already knowing how I want it mapped out, like already knowing how I want the whole verse planned out, and in my mind I'll keep that in mind when I'm placing actual words to it. So sonically I'll know what I want it to sound like, but then it's like, okay, now what type of feeling am I feeling from it? Now I need to fill in words that are within that general idea that also will fit the way I want it to sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not just like, okay, bar, now I have to think of another one. It's like, okay, I know how I want this to start, I know how I want it to end, I know what I want at this space in the middle. Now I need to fill in the spaces in between to take you from the way that I want it to start to the way that I want it to be in the middle, and then from the way I want it in the middle to the way that I want it to end. You know what I mean? So it's just like you got to do like I just map it out and then I fill it in basically.
Where does a hook come in that process? Would you freestyle that as well usually in a situation where you're writing like that?
More often than not, I'll write the hook just because that's usually, I don't know, that's the part that takes the most time for me. They usually, like, sometimes hooks for certain songs will come super naturally, knock it out super quick. I'll just be sitting there, I'll be like, yeah, I got something. Or usually because it takes more time, like I will sit down and really, you know what I mean? I'll know, like, okay, I want it to project this feeling, or I want it to be kind of like this, so I'll really sit down and write a hook. Like, I'll really put the time into it, really sit down. Like, not saying that I don't put my time into the verses, but the hook is really something I have to really, like, carefully map out, especially with certain, like, beats, certain sounds. So usually the hook is, like, written. Like, I'll really write it down. I have it prepared beforehand and then do it. But there are times that it'll just be like, okay, the same way I do the verse. I'll get in there and get a hook, and I'll be like, oh, this is perfect, and I'll just go straight from there into the verse. Or I'll start with the verse, and then I'll be like, okay, I think I'm going to put the hook here. I have an idea for the hook. I think I'm going to start it here, and then I'll do that.
So how many of the songs in the EP were written in that process?
All of them.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. All of them. All four of them were. I think, yeah, because Cream of the Crop was the one I recorded on Instagram Live, and then my fault. Cream of the Crop was the one I recorded on Instagram Live. Improvement with me and Breathe was the same way, just because we both kind of create in the same type of process, almost like a very similar process. And then Distance was the same way. Me and Barry Grand don't necessarily create in the same type of process, but it's close enough where we can make it work. Like, we were both here, we were cooking up, you feel me, made the beat, we were liking it, he was fucking with it, he started writing in the time that I was still working on the beat itself. So
you made the beat for that track?
Yeah.
How much the production on this project did you do? More than the last one?
Yeah, like almost all of it.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so I think that's another reason I was so proud of it, because I did almost all the production on this one.
Is that something Breathe pushed you to do?
Yes. He yes. Yes, he did.
Were you hesitant?
Were
you hesitant?
I just don't consider myself a producer, so I think that's really why. Like, there are people who will specifically consider themselves a producer, and I just don't consider myself a producer. But I think because now that I'm getting better at it, I'm willing to be like, okay, I'll put this out. Like,
do you think that process is going to change moving forward? Like, do you think you're going to be more willing to work on your own beats?
Oh, even now,
yeah.
I think that's why, because I didn't even realize that it was like, I feel like I'm rolling away from the table. Damn. I didn't even realize that was the case until I was uploading, like, the songs, and I was like, man, I produced most of this. Like, this was mostly me. Like, most of the work was, you know what I mean? Like,
it's freeing, huh?
Yeah, it took a second, and I was like, wow, like, I'm really producing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't something I noticed at first. It was something that, like, came after type. So.
That's such a valuable thing to do as a young rapper, because it's like, that is one of the, it's funny, there's like, I can make like a list of like 4 or 5 things that it's like everybody who wants to rap doesn't have, and it's like beats is the top of the list, studio is the top of the list, marketing knowledge is the top of the list, and it's like you definitely are moving in a space where you're starting to get all of those things slowly, and it's like I feel like you just gotta keep moving down the checklist, right? It's like check off, like, now I know how to produce, now I have a place where I can record, now I have this equipment I can use consistently, and it's just so on and so forth, and it's like eventually you have all the tools, and then it's just about getting the right ears.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I feel now, because I'm like, man, I'm getting pretty close to the end of this checklist. Now it's just the audience.
Yeah.
That's, you know what I mean? So I think that's part of the reason why I was so excited with, like, I was so excited with Daylight Castaway, because it was like the audience is starting to show up. Like, people are starting to, like, recognize it and, like, appreciate it, acknowledge it, and, like, even people I don't know, like, I'm starting to get a lot of people I don't know, like, tapping with my music and tapping with the things I'm doing, like, on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are starting to kind of acknowledge it, so it's exciting to me, because I'm like, wow, I'm really getting the audience now. Like, that's the shit I was looking for.
Does that ever worry you? Like, did you ever get scared of blowing up tomorrow and then not being ready for it?
Yeah, but okay, yes, but no, just because music-wise, like, the music-wise, I'm prepared for it. I feel like, because, like, I've been spending a lot of time, like, really studying what I should be doing, which I feel like is part of the reason that I've been making so much improvement. It's just because I really have been taking the time to learn, as opposed to just do it and be like, damn, I wish. Like, I really been taking the time to learn and do the work to be prepared for it. So at this point, I'm like, okay, if it were to happen, obviously it's going to take me a little bit of time to really, like, be grounded real solid with how to deal with it, but, like, I'd be prepared for it, just because I took the time to learn and prepare myself for that exact reason, because it could be tomorrow. You know what I mean? I could wake up tomorrow and the shit be at, you know what I mean? Like, this shit be posted somewhere and blow up by the end of the day. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's no, if you're not prepared for it, like, if you don't go ahead of time, it's not, I think it's just because there's not a time to be like, okay, it looks like I'm starting to, like, blow up. especially nowadays because
it's very rare that it's gradual.
Yeah, like everything's digital, so nowadays shit happens hella fast. You know what I mean? Like if
you
this
can
was
be
like
nobody one week, and the next week you can be a Billboard top selling artist. Like
that's exactly because everything's
like
digital. All it takes is one, like the right person to post something.
Yeah.
And now your shit's everywhere. Now you can't go outside without being noticed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like there's no okay. This is gonna be. It looks like it's starting to happen. Like you have to be prepared immediately.
And it's like I feel like a lot of people, a lot of like older people will call bullshit to that, but you can literally pull out laundry lists of examples of kids that have gone from nobody in like some suburban town to like a literal star overnight.
And that's what I'm saying. Even if it's like gradual, it's never gradual. It's always that first blow up is always crazy and abrupt, and then after that be gradual. But that first blow up to stardom like before superstardom, like before superstardom, that first blow up is always like sudden. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, oh shit, I'm everywhere I go I'm seeing,
and there's no way it couldn't be sudden, you know, like just because I feel like your lifestyle would just change so abruptly that it could not be sudden. It's weird though, because it's like when these overnight stars come, it's like we only see them after they blew up, right?
You don't see all the shit before.
Exactly. You can look at like somebody like Lil Nas X or Jack Harlow and say like, or like DaBaby, and like these guys blew up overnight. Like they became these gigantic multi-platinum selling artists overnight. But it's like, no, that didn't happen. That's what we see. You know, everything under the iceberg is like kids rapping when they're 16 years old, like trying to make beats, like using their mom's camera to shoot videos type shit.
Exactly. Like just like with like like it's just there's a lot of shit that people don't know only because their thing is like, oh well, all I know is I didn't know them, and then suddenly I knew them and they were everywhere. But it's like, you feel me? It was the long nights of them like working on shit and releasing shit that wasn't getting noticed, or you know what I'm saying, doing shows to empty crowds. You know what I mean? It's like there's just a lot of stuff that people don't see, so it takes time. Like it takes time, but it's abrupt at the same time, if that makes sense.
No, it does, and I think that's why I hate when people like label people as like not one hit wonders, but like overnight success.
Like overnight success,
like, there's no such thing.
Because it's like technically them fully blowing up was overnight, but it was the shit before that really matters. It was the years or months or whatever before that really matters. It's just
because I mean, think about it, right? If some kid who's like 19 or 20 or whatever makes a song tomorrow and it just blows up, becomes the biggest song of the year, and there has to be a threshold to which it sounds good, right? Like no song that's just complete utter garbage is gonna blow up like that. And for somebody to get into a position where they could even make that caliber of a track takes years and years and years of work and getting better and grinding and finding places to record and going back to like that checklist we were saying, like learning how to do all these things. Like that's not overnight.
Yeah, it's just so much like work and a lot of time, and that shit's crazy because like it's so quick that all that work could just pay off like immediately. Like that shit's really crazy.
It's the power of the internet, man. It's insane. How'd you get the cover art for this one? Was there an artist that did it? How'd you?
Yeah, so there was an artist that did it. One of my boys, Brady Buckets. He did the artwork for it. He does a lot of like digital artwork. He's a tattoo artist. He does a lot of like artwork. So he actually sent it to me, and I was like, man, this shit go crazy. You know what I mean? Like he's an artist, so he likes to just work on stuff whenever.
Oh, so he sent it to you. So that wasn't even originally meant to be the art.
He said it wasn't originally meant to be the art for this project. I was gonna do like a photo cover. And
hey, could you move so like your mouth's in front of that?
Yeah.
For sure.
I was gonna do like a photo cover, and then I was looking at it and I was like, I feel like this shit just fits for real. Like I feel like it just all around fits the vibe of like, you know what I mean, the way that the songs play out, especially in order, and you know what I mean. It's just I just feel, especially because I have songs like Distance and Villainous on the same project. You know what I mean? And songs like Cream of the Crop and Villainous or distance and improvement. You know what I mean?
Totally
like
different.
There's two sides to every artist, I feel like. You know what I mean? Or multiple sides to every artist. I felt like that art really portrayed that in like a way that all around just captured the essence of the project. So I was like, yeah, this is great. This is perfect.
That's super interesting, yeah.
I had photos lined up to use for the cover, and I was like, no.
What were those photos like? Just like cool pictures or what?
It wasn't just like random. Like, it was still planned out. It wasn't just like random photos, but I ended up like really thinking about it, and I was like, I don't even need to go this route, because it also depended on the way that I like the methods I was going to use to promote it. And I was like, no, I don't. It was like two different routes I was thinking about going, and I was like, yeah, I think this way is more the way that I'm going to go for it. So
that's what I'm talking about, man. Like this release to me, like opposed to the last project, just seems way more calculated. Like so much more went into it.
Yeah, there was so much more work that went into it. It was crazy.
What about the name? Where'd the name come from?
Just because, like, I don't really go outside like in the daytime. Like, I used to be outside all day. When I was younger. Like, all the time. As soon as the sun was up, I'm outside until it's dark. And then I kind of like changed from that to like, I'm not going outside until it's darker. Changed the things I was doing, like habits, everything. And it was like, you feel what I mean? Like, just because that's just how it happened. And it was like, damn, like it almost felt like I was like casted from the daylight. You know what I mean? Like, cast out from like the daylight to just darkness all the time. But it was just fine with me. Like it was, you know what I mean? It was just fine with me. I'm like, okay, that's just how shit happens. You feel what I mean? People evolve. You know what I'm talking about? So I can
totally relate to that.
I was like, yeah, it's, you know what I mean? I just felt like it was right, because like like deeper than just me, but also like as an artist, like I had changed, like not fully, but a lot, like a large amount. I had changed and evolved from how I was before. So I was like, this is just right. This just fits right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, sonically, the project is way different too. Like on this one, you have like much slower moments. Like the song with Barry is a lot slower than anything on your last project. And to be honest, the only song that seemed like it would even fit on your last project is probably Villainous, because like Cream of the Crop, it's a bit more like just straight like lyrical rap driven, and like improvements. So even a lot slower than a lot of the stuff on your other EP too. Was that like a sound you wanted to move away from, or are you just trying to play with other stuff?
It's not a sound that I 100% want to move away from. I still have songs that sound like, you know what I mean? I still have songs that sound like 808 Rockstar, and still working on songs that sound like that. It's just a matter of like, you know what I mean? If that's, you can't just be a one-trick pony. And I also like to make some of the slower stuff. Like, surprisingly enough, I actually really like to make a lot of the slower stuff. Like, sometimes I'll go in with intent to make something that's not like that, and I'll be like, yeah, this is just, it looks like we're just going to be singing today. You know what I mean? Like, it just works out like that. And because I'm not going to go in there like, okay, I have to make songs like this. Like, at the end of the day, I'm still an artist. I'm just going to make whatever I'm feeling like making, however I'm feeling at the time. So that's just how I did this one, as opposed to being like, okay, I want it all to sound like this. I wanted it to just be me. You know what I mean? This is just what came out, and you know what I mean? Now I'm presenting it to you guys to listen to. So.
And I think your voice totally worked in that slower setting too. Like and the feature, who's the feature on that track? How'd you meet Barry Grand?
Barry Grand, one of my boys. He started coming here, like he started coming into the studio, and it was kind of just like passing by at first. Like, I happened to just pass by, you know what I mean? Same place, same time. Met him, and he was like cool. He's super cool. Barry Grant's super cool. And I met him. He ended up being cool. Seen him a couple more times, just same place, same time. Heard some of his shit, and I was like, man, this man go crazy, because he really be like, he be singing, he be hitting the notes. I was like, he go crazy, and You know what I mean? At this point, I had met him enough, and like I said before, I'm not. It's deeper than just like, oh, you're good at something. Like I wanted to also be like, I have to also get along with people. You know what I mean? There has to be some sort of like, you know what I mean? It's deeper than just like a strictly music relationship.
It's gotta be a personal relationship first.
Yeah, so we ended up becoming friends. And I was like, yeah, bro, let's cook up. Let's make some. And that was one of like 6.
Wow.
And it just goes crazy.
Was that just your favorite one?
That was the one that fit Daylight Castaway. That was definitely the one that fit Daylight Castaway. And I was like, yeah, this is going to have to go on there. Absolutely.
In what order were those tracks recorded? Like, because to me, like, Cream of the Crop really sounds like an intro as a project. Like, did you record that with the intent of it being an intro, or?
No.
Did you, yeah.
No, I actually got halfway through the song, and I walked out of the booth, and I was like, I'm not going to lie. I think this is the intro to the project.
Sounds like an intro.
It does sound like an intro. I had a different intro at first, because I have it just like written around the around the studio. So I had a different intro like originally, and ended up changing it because I was like, yeah, I'll go with a different one. This one's definitely it. So I was like, yeah, this might be the move. I definitely had a different one at first though, and I just felt like I needed to change it because like Cream of the Crop just like even just recording it. Once I started like really listening to it back, I was like, this has to be it. Yeah. This has to be the intro. So that was the last song that I recorded for it. So like you never really know.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just like
that's funny, and it's like it's hard to explain why. Like it sounds like an intro so much, but I feel like almost like in the beginning too, when you walk in, you're like, and just like, and there's like all that like that studio rumbling that you kind of kept in there, where it's all like, where it's just like, oh, like I forgot what to say, and you're saying all that shit. Like to me, it sounds like you like walking into the studio, and then like Villainous at the end is way more abrasive. It sounds like an outro. It's like oh, I'm done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like it was kind of just like, okay, finish. This is it. That's the end. Like,
yeah.
You feel me? You've hit the finish line.
Yeah, 100%. Now things are opening up. Have you been looking into performing at all?
Yeah, I've definitely been looking into performing. I'm actually about to work on some stuff after this about performing. Hopefully soon, possibly soon. In the next between the next few weeks to like a month or two.
That's dope. I gotta be at a GLDNBoy show.
Yeah, yeah. We about to turn them up. That's my goal. It's my goal. I wanna have as many people come out there and rock with me as possible. Come out and see me. I think we'll have it live as long as everybody come out there, be ready for it.
And hopefully things just keep getting better. So
hopefully things just keep getting. Hopefully things stay open. Also, and give me an opportunity to really because. You know what I mean? I think I know I'm ready for shows.
Yeah.
I've definitely been ready for shows.
Have you performed yet at all?
I have performed, but like a long time ago.
But not your new music.
Yeah, none of my new music, and a lot of my new music is definitely ready to be performed.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm excited for that because I got a lot of songs that like I'll listen to them and I'll be like, man, I bring this out on the stage. We going crazy. So
I remember in our last interview too. When we were talking about live music, you were talking about like potentially performing with a band. Is that something you still want to do?
That is something I want to do. Yeah, that is something I want to do, but I don't know if I'm at the level right now to do it. I don't know if right now is the time to do it. I think
down the road a little
maybe give
bit.
me a little bit of time. We can make that happen.
Yeah.
I think maybe give me a little bit of time, and then we can make that happen. But yeah, right now, I don't know. Just because I think that in order to perform with a live band, you have to be so refined as a performer to be able to do that. Because like performing with just the music, you're not really relying on extra stuff. You know what I mean? It's kind of just like if the music plays, you're on. If the music doesn't play, you just wait till it plays and you're on. But with a live band, like you're relying on other individuals. You know what I mean?
It's a cue-based thing.
Yeah, it's cue-based. If you make a minor mistake, that could throw off everything. So, and I think that's why people who have been doing it for a certain amount of time, I think that's why they do it for a certain amount of time before they start.
Yeah.
performing with a live band, because you have to get refined in order to even be able to do that. So I don't think right now I'm at that point, but hopefully soon I'm gonna do it enough where I'll be at that point.
Have you thought through like which songs, which tracks specifically you want to record, or you want to play live? Like, what do you want? Like, have you thought about what you want a Golden Boy show to be like?
Yeah. I definitely have thought about it, and I definitely want them to be. I want them to be crazy.
Yeah.
Definitely. I just hope that the people that come out and see are, you know what I mean, like bring energy. I know I know that I'm a relatively high energy person, so just being on stage, like as long as people feeding off my energy, I think it'll be live. But like I just don't want hella people up on the stage. Like you know what I mean? I want it to be more of like a production, not just like okay on stage rapping and then like done. You know what I mean?
Have you been to a lot of concerts that you think like are like that? Because I know me personally, I've been to some shows where I'm all like, all right, this guy's just up there dancing around, lip syncing his song. Like, do you in a sense want to have your shows be a bit more than that?
Yeah, definitely. I want to. Obviously, it's gonna take like maybe two or three shows.
Take time, yeah.
I want to get to a point where my vocals are not in the background, where it's just, you know what I mean?
It's just you.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like I'm saying, that's also something that comes with being a more refined performer. So it's gonna take time before I'm gonna be able to do that. But I can at least start close. You know what I mean? I can start off close to that just because I wanted to. Because you know what I mean? On stage, you can change whatever you want to change. Like you can make the shit come out different. And that's what I really want to do. I want to be able to change it, make adjustments to it while I'm on stage. It'll be different. So then people are going to be like, man, I seen him perform this song live. He did this, and this part. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that's part of like the appeal of live music in the first place. It's like being able to go to a venue and get an experience that somebody can't get from listening to the song with headphones in their room on Spotify. You know, it's like having that individualistic experience from being in that place at that time and seeing it live. And I feel like if you can give like concert goers or fans just like something individual every night, like that's a special kind of performer.
Yeah. And that's what my main goal is to do, whether it's me performing with a live band or with no vocals on my songs in the background, or even with the vocals on. Like, I want to be able to bring the energy to a stage that people are like, man, I gotta go see this nigga again for real. Like, that went crazy. You know what I mean? I want people to be like, I gotta go back. Like I've never been to a show like that. Or even if they're like, man, his energy was crazy, I would go see him all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to bring energy to the stage where people hear my song after, and like every time they hear it after, they'd be like, man,
this is way better live.
If I could see him perform this live again, you know what I mean? Like.
And that's a special kind of thing. If you can get yourself to a point where you're having fans say, God, I want to go back and see this performer again.
Yeah.
Like that I feel like is rare. That's what
I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make it so people want to pop out every time. Every time I'm in town, I want people to come out and pop out and see me.
Yeah.
That's how I want it to be, because I mean, that's, you know what I'm saying? I'm doing it for me, but I'm doing it for the people also. You know what I mean? I want it to be received that way.
Has the thought of touring in the somewhat distant future ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, it definitely has. Like, we've been talking about it a little bit. It definitely has, but you know what I'm saying? Like I was saying, I think it's gonna take a little bit of time between now and then.
100%.
Like a couple shows, especially since now things are just starting to open.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna take a couple shows, kind of catch our feet first before we're like, okay, are you ready? Let's do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I definitely have thought about it, but I don't think I'm quite at that spot yet. I think
makes sense.
Take this first couple shows first.
Have you just moving forward? Have you thought about when you want the album to come out? Like, are you're actively working on it? Like, what's that process like at the moment?
I am actively working on it.
Yeah.
We getting closer to it. We getting closer to it. I don't have a date on it yet, but we getting closer to it.
Yeah.
We getting closer to it. But no, I don't have a date on it yet. I had a couple things coming out before that are gonna be good. I had a couple things coming out before that's gonna be good that we're working on right now, and then, I'm definitely actively working on the album, but it's gonna take a little bit of time, because I really want to be fantastic. I want it to be amazing. You know what I mean? I want people to listen to it and be like, man, this shit is crazy.
100%.
Like, I want people to be like, man, this shit is crazy. Like, people don't be dropping shit like this. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm working towards. So, but I also want it to sound good to me, deeper than just like people thinking it sound crazy. Like, I also want it to sound good to me, and I just think some of them are not quite ready yet. Some of the songs on the album are not quite ready yet. And you know, I got a couple other things to get prepared for the album, especially since it's such a big project. It's gonna have a lot of songs on it, so yeah, I'm working on it actively though. Especially now, this really dropping Daylight Castaway really put the fire under me. I really got it. I'm really pushing to finish it, so it's not hella far in the future, but it's in the, you know what I'm saying? It's somewhere in the future.
It's in the mix.
Yeah, it's in the mix. We working on it.
Well, Gabe, I respect your ambition.
Yeah.
I'm pumped to hear it, man. I can't wait to see you perform upcoming, hopefully, and I appreciate you sitting down with me.
Always.
For the second time.
Always. Appreciate you
second
inviting
interview.
me.
100%,
second
man.
interview. Back at it. Appreciate you sitting down talking with me. Always.
All right, bro. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for letting me slap through to the Just Breathe studio, man. I appreciate it. 100%.
Yes, sir.
All right, Doc. Music matters.
Yep.